OverDrive, episode 10.
Episode 10, we've done it.
Double figures and a few changes. So we have new presenter, Craig Woodhouse.
Hello.
Now, Craig's not really such a stranger to OverDrive, are you?
Not quite, no.
Craig did actually supply us with the Rover 25 and was also helping out quite a lot behind the scenes with the Portugal video as well when we were doing the Peugeot 308 and the Fiat Tipo. So,
yeah, so certainly not a stranger. No, I've helped out a little bit before, so...
Yep. So, a few changes going on, but generally everything's pretty much the same. So, to start off, we have quite an interesting thing on fuel. So we've got petrol and diesel, both of them have their pros and cons, their merits and their issues, but what if there was an alternative that wasn't electric and was quite green? Let's have a look. Now, do you know what NOx is and how it's generated?
I'm going to sound really stupid and dumb here, but I have absolutely no idea.
NOx, nitrogen oxide.
Right.
And this is a byproduct of every single lean burn engine, regardless of whether it is petrol or diesel. Every single engine available in a motor car today is a lean burn design. And the idea is it gets the most bang out of the least fuel possible.
Right.
Which is great from an environmental point of view because you're not using as much fuel, you are generating less carbon dioxide emissions, you're getting greater efficiency, and when you put your accelerator down you really get that feeling of that buzz of acceleration from a 1 litre engine, which you could, if it's turbocharged and you've got a pretty decent system in there, you still get that little kick. Not as much as you do with 1.6 or above, but you still get it. Now, the problem with lean burn is once you've got all that, the bang done, you know the engine process, suck, squeeze, bang, blow. Yeah. So in the suck and the squeeze section, you've got fuel and air mixed together quite nicely. And then the bang goes.
Right.
And at the end of that bang, you've got a very, very hot chamber. You're looking at close to 1,000 degrees.
Okay.
So you've got the bang, you've now got a very compressed set of gases in a very hot environment of around or over 1,000 degrees centigrade.
Right.
And you've got these oxygen molecules that are not quite gone. So the oxygen then attaches to nitrogen and creates nitrogen oxide. Because 70% of the air is nitrogen.
Right.
Okay? So there's going to be a lot of nitrogen there. And that's what the oxygen attaches to because it's not being burned fully, it's not burned cleanly. But this is true of all engines, petrol or diesel. But as it shows, it's not that simple. It's not as easy as diesel evil, petrol better. Because there are circumstances where petrol is worse than diesel. So, wouldn't it be good if there was an alternative?
I was just thinking this. What if we had an alternative?
With LPG, when you're looking under the bonnet, it shouldn't be that obvious, especially if it's a factory fit like this one is. To find the differences, you've really got to look. So there's, on this one, there's an extra set of injectors here, which feed in and go into the cylinders of the engine. Standard 4-cylinder engine on this one, so it's a fairly standard LPG installation. Key things to remember with these is you've got an additional fuel filter and it needs to be serviced as regularly, not more so than your regular petrol engine, and really does need to go to an LPG specialist. Other than that, there are 1 or 2 ECUs dotted around which are in addition to the regular engine ECUs and connecting to the wiring harnesses. That's one of the reasons why, if you don't get this factory fitted, it is a specialist installation, as well as the pressurized components as well. But generally, for the main engine itself, there's no change. certainly not from a servicing point of view and a maintenance point of view. The only thing you've got to watch out for is the additional injectors if you need to change something like an inlet manifold. If you do lose part of your space in your car for an additional tank. Now this one's a 55 litre tank and it's taking up the spare wheel area. Now some people will have a tank in the boot which takes up quite a bit of space, but then it depends on your need. What size tank do you really need? And 55 litre will get you quite far. And when I had mine, it was around about £30 to do 300 miles. So that's 10p a mile in terms of fuel. And that wasn't too bad considering that £30 in petrol would have probably got me around about 150 to 200 if I was lucky, depending on the sort of mileage I was doing. But pottering around town, I'd be getting 300 miles out of it, so it's not exactly the best driving conditions for fuel economy, but it just goes to show how cheap it can actually be. In fact, a lot of taxi firms are now switching from diesel to LPG for the various reasons. They can advertise themselves as greener, and it's a lot cheaper for them to run. As I said, the only big disadvantage is you've got the second fuel tank, which means quite often you will wind up with your spare tyre in the boot, which we have on this one.
Right, I have some questions.
Okay.
One, a bit of a safety aspect. How safe is LPG when it's in your car?
Well, LPG, as the L stands for, is liquid or liquefied petroleum gas. So we're looking at pressurised gas.
Yeah.
So the tank has to be incredibly strong, incredibly durable. So we saw the tank in the boot there, in the boot space area, and it has to be strong, it has to be durable, it has to be able to withstand very, very heavy knocks. So if you were in an accident where the rear was hit and the tank was in the crumple area, the tank would probably be scratched, and that's about it.
No, that's good to hear. And the other safety aspects.
Okay.
When you're filling the car up, how easy and safe is it to do?
Right. For filling the car up, you have a nozzle which clicks in, you then got to turn it to lock it in place, and then pull a lever to make a seal. Without that seal in place, gas will not flow.
Good. Right, so there's no really potential cause of leakages and while you're trying to fill it. Well, that's good. Boring bit out of the way, onto a bit of an exciting bit. What about power? Because we know this is a fairly powerful car.
Yeah.
So what sort of power am I going to be getting out on the LPG with this? Any losses or gains?
You will lose a little bit of power on LPG.
Right.
However, you're looking at a couple of horsepower.
Right.
Not massive amounts.
Yeah.
You certainly won't notice it in a car like this. Swapping over your actual petrol and LPG. So if you're running on petrol at the moment, you've got a little display down here, and it shows you LEDs there. So it shows you your fuel level. If it starts to go a bit low, it usually goes red, and if it's really low, it will flash. And you've got a button there where you can actually swap between the two. So I've now got it on petrol, now it's on LPG. And it really is as simple as that. But the actual switchover won't actually occur until the system primes itself and, of course, the engine's at operating temperature.
So basically, if I run out of one fuel, I can go straight to another.
You can, yeah. So it'll work one way. If you're running on LPG and you run out of LPG, it will go over to fuel, over to petrol. Again, if you run out of petrol and you've got LPG in the tank, you can switch over to LPG.
Right, well, I think with all that in mind, I think now's the time to actually see it being filled up, I think, yeah. So,
slightly different from your normal fuel cap. Got a separate one there that squeezes, that twists off. You have this one, which goes into place. Turn it slightly, pull, and now that's locked. At which point, now push the button and let the gas flow. And look at that price, 58.9p a litre. So a long time since I've seen litres go up faster than the pounds. Yep. So, once done, it's the process in reverse. A little bit of a gas flow when you come out, but that's it. Pop it back in, and you're done. Now to go and pay. So from starting from cold, it's generally a good idea to do this with petrol. Now, you can, on some LPG systems, get a cold start without actually using petrol at all. However, this tends to glaze over the injectors. And as a result, you end up with problems with fuel flow. So this is one of the reasons why petrol's used to start the car when it's cold.
Right, so looking at everything we've seen, filling the car all the way in, what sort of benefits have we actually got from LPG?
Well, it's actually the benefits for the environment is it's a clean burn, so it's practically zero particulate matter, and NOx as well is greatly reduced. The catalytic converter is going to be practically doing nothing in your car.
A bit of a lazy cat then.
Yeah, like a typical car.
Yeah, like a typical car, yeah. So I can see some really good points about having LPG.
Yeah.
I can't really see no massive downsides against the upsides, really, to be fair.
I mean, apart from needing specialist installation and, again, requiring servicing, we do have its own set of filters.
I would understand all them points, because it's something you can't just take upon yourself.
No.
Really.
And it is one of those things, you don't get anything for free. So fuel efficiency doesn't come free, it comes with NOx, it comes with particulate matter, it comes with lots of other things. So there are trade-offs whatever you do. Even if you went all electric, there are still trade-offs. But you can get LPG added to most petrol engines for around £500 upwards now. And if any government is really serious about clean motoring, reducing emissions, they will be pushing LPG a lot more.
I'd say so.
It's less than half the price of fuel at the moment in this country, in the UK. It's definitely less than half the price of petrol, way less than half the price of diesel.
So to sum up, would you have an LPG car?
Yes, without fail. That's second thought.
And I think, if you pardon the pun here, I'm converted.
Well, that was the LPG feature. For the second feature of episode 10, we've got an interesting comparison, really, between two examples of one of Britain's most popular cars, the Vauxhall Astra. So let's take a look at them.
Right, so here we are in the first Astra.
Mark 5 Astra this is, yeah.
The Mark 5, the sort of one I remember. I'm seeing the usual sort of layout of dash, which I think you said you found fairly good and usable, didn't you?
I remember sort of back in the day when these came out, and obviously there weren't the technological features that you have now on cars, such as Bluetooth and things like that, you know, that to be one. But when they came out, I thought that what a nice, simple design, simple radio, simple air conditioning controls, and with the dashboard design as well. It is very simple, but it's very neat and tidy.
It is,
and it's uncluttered, and it's quite a refreshing change to the modern cars, with covered in buttons everywhere.
Yeah, you can get a bit overwhelmed with things, can't you? It is a good job. It's got the little touches, which obviously break things in the chrome and such, but I did find that on some, they could feel a little bit dull.
Yeah, I think it depends largely on the spec you have.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a club model, so when it was new, it was basically sort of one up from the entry-level model.
Right, that's it,
so, on the outside you've got alloy wheels and things like that, and on the inside you've got electric door mirrors, heated door mirrors as well, which I think on the basic one they were manual.
Right.
You'll notice up here as well, it's got the curtain airbags, which didn't feature on the base model.
Of course, yeah, that's a good idea.
Which, you know, you think back in the day, in 2004 this car came out, that's actually pretty good. You know, this car came out factory standard safety equipment with sort of
Yeah.
ABS, 6 airbags on. We had this model upwards. The other ones had 4. Yeah, I mean this one obviously being the model it is had standard air conditioning, and all your other sort of feature comforts you'd expect at the time. Steering wheel controls, again, that was fairly good for sort of back in the day.
I do like how, and I do remember this, I like how all the indicator stalks and everything are fairly chunky.
They are chunky, and if I remember, these are what they call one-touch indicators. So basically, you nudged it, and it dropped back to exactly the same position again.
I remember that. I liked that with mine.
Whereas most cars, you nudge it, and obviously it stays in that position, so it self-cancels and drops back.
And I do find the actual display, your dials and such, I used to like them. They're very nice and clear.
Yeah, they are very, very clear, and obviously a lot of roads have speed limits like 30 miles an hour in those areas, and obviously 70 on the motorway. And then you'll notice that when it gets to the 30 on the speedo, the marker is red, and when it gets to 70, it's red.
That's actually a good idea.
Just to the sort of speed you look at a lot. It emphasises that for you.
To be fair, if you think of the VXR of the time of this age, they wasn't massively lavished, really sporty.
No, I think they had Recaro seats, so they're a bit more bolstered.
Yeah, and that was about it.
But it was, you'd be forgiven if you had a fairly mildly spec one of those. It was just a normal Astra.
Yeah. I do remember, obviously, from Vauxhall, there was reverse gear where we had to, with a trigger thing, and go that way.
Up.
Yeah.
And there we go, reverses up.
There certainly seems to be plenty space in the back.
They just do the job so well.
Yeah.
I need them as a practical family car, and they do exactly that.
The 1.4 seemed fairly good, engine-wise, to drive.
Yeah, this one is a 1.4 as well. I think if you drove this every day as your only car, you wouldn't really be too bothered. Obviously, the other one we're going to look at today, which is also mine, is a 1.6.
Yeah.
And you really, really notice the difference in power. In terms of sort of economy and insurance costs and things like that, it's absolutely spot on.
But yeah, I think on a long journey, I think it's probably a nice cabin to be in. It sort of is what it is. It does the job, doesn't it? It's not.
It does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, it's not overboard. It's not flash. It's just simple to. Yeah, it is. But one thing I'm noticing, I don't see any cup holders.
Yeah, I think this was pre-cup holder.
The reason why I've only mentioned it is because today I've only discovered I have no cup holders in the car that I have, the Puma.
I think the door bins here are big enough to get a few things in there.
You can squeeze things in, can't you?
If you did that.
I really don't like the glove compartment. They provide, you see, the usual thing, like you can stand a cup on them and all that, but it obviously wouldn't be safe if you're on the move.
Some people might say bland.
Well, I suppose, like you say, it could be due to spec. The design is nice.
Yeah.
The design's good how they've got it. And it is going to be choice, isn't it? You will find other Astras that give you a different spec.
If you have an SXI,
things.
which is what you had, I think, it's slightly more sporty.
I think the only change, basically, was there might have been a slightly different colouring.
Yes, I think so. I think I think if you're having the entry level one, the one down from this, you don't even get this sort of brushed aluminium look, so that can look even plainer.
Yeah.
I like the fact they've got a phone symbol on the steering wheel, but it hasn't actually got Bluetooth.
And it hasn't actually got...
Shows they were thinking about it, wasn't it?
It must have been in the pipeline, but they never did it. But,
No.
I do find, obviously, with your controls, like for your vents and stuff, I do like how on the edges you have this rubber
Grip.
and at a easy touch, you grip them straight away, don't they? Because they're not smooth. They're not going to slip in your fingers and all like that. So I always did like that.
I suppose it makes it easier to use at night as well. If you can see them a bit easy, you can feel them a bit easier.
Yeah. Obviously, we have a tiny display, but that's how the nature of a lot of cars was at the time, wasn't it? We hadn't reached the times of big, massive screens on a lot of cars and things. So.
It's very. They didn't have touch screens.
No.
I mean, funnily enough, on this sort of shape Astra, that's you were able to get from factory as an extra satellite navigation. And if you did that, this screen was bigger.
There must be something right about these cars that they are a good usable car.
I think it's just come out, that they're reliable, they're good value, and they do the job they're supposed to do. And I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And certainly with the way I find, I've had a number of Astras over the years. I've had a Mark III, a Mark IV, a Mark V, and a Mark VI now. So the changes in the last sort of 25 years or so are unbelievable.
I think we find the changes are fairly rapid now in cars out as a whole. It has brought back some memories seeing this. Even so, like I said, this is a 5-door against the one that I had, but inside it's just like being back in the first one I had, the 1.4 silver one, the same colour and the lot.
All in all, a nice package.
Yeah.
Nice package for the money.
Yeah, it is. So that is the first Astra of the two. And we're going to move on now to the second one and see basically how things have changed. Right, so here we are in the newer Astra. This is the Mark VI, and how far have we come?
Very.
The moment I have just got in this car, and I will say this is a first for even being a passenger in one of these, I'm just so overwhelmed. I absolutely love how this centre console sweeps down, and you are struck at first, let's say, by how you think it looks busy with the buttons, but I think it's because you've stepped away from that. But it's everything that you need, isn't it? Everything's there.
Yeah, everything's perfectly usable. You know, it's clearly laid out. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. But I'm just taken out. I even love how all the dash sweeps right round.
Yeah.
And follows right round to the design of the handles, and
yeah,
and it even continues around. Everything's really thought out with this car. You can see the difference.
There's a lot of detail. It's one of them cars. I mean, I use this car every day. This is my sort of commuting car, really.
Right.
And I suppose when you use that every day, you don't tend to notice things. But actually, when you start looking at the details, you do actually realise that though it's only an Astra, actually how much attention to detail has gone into the design of the car.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously a bit of information about this one. This is a 1.6 Elite.
Right.
Wasn't the most expensive Astra you could buy when it was new. Obviously, you could get automatic gearbox. You could have a diesel, 2-litre diesel, but it was the highest trim level.
Right. Yeah.
So it come out literally loaded to the gills with bits and pieces. You got your dual zone climate control here for driver and passenger.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You can have it temperatures. 3-stage heated seats.
Oh, so you can play the heated seat game on a motor.
Heated seat game. I've done that a few times.
That's a must, is that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot of features. You know, power fold door almost there. Touch with the button, you can just door.
They're really good. Yeah.
There you go. As long as it's on the middle setting there, electric heated, of course. Being Elite, obviously the main thing, you got your full leather interior.
Yes, I really like these seats. These are nice.
Vauxhall call these ergonomic sports seats, I think is the technical term. You've got to pull out there, such as you'd find in a BMW.
Yes. Well, now I had this on my ST models.
On the ST Focus, yeah.
Yeah, and I used to like that feature.
Very, very comfortable. Extremely supportive. Got a lot of bolstering going on at the back and at the bottom base there. Very easy to get a comfortable driving position. They do have some electric adjustment on the driver's seat as well down here.
Right, so it's just for the driver's seat.
Just the driver.
Yeah. It really looks nice in the back as well. The seats look a really good comfy set of seats at the back.
They are. So it's very highly spec from the factory. The only factory options on this particular car are the metallic paintwork on the outside. They call it Deep Sky Metallic.
Deep Sky,
metallic. And the front and rear parking sensors,
right?
Which that's why you have that button there.
Yeah.
So you can turn them on and off. Sometimes.
Actually, that's a good thing, being able to turn them on and off.
You can, yeah. I think it's mainly for the front ones. Obviously, if you put the car in reverse, they come on automatically. And then sometimes when you pull away, you find. And you pull up to something close up front, you find the front ones go off.
Yes, I like the feature, you can actually turn them off. So have we actually still got a key in the ignition with this?
We have got a key in the ignition.
So no stop-start button with this?
No, it's not a push button.
Does the actually newer facelift model actually come with a start-stop button, you know?
It depends entirely on your specification.
Right, again on spec, yeah.
The base models don't. The higher ones do, I believe. Some of these shape Astras and the new ones as well also had electronic handbrake. Personally, I'm not a fan of them.
No, losing a handbrake is
personal preference. I feel like, I don't know if it's some security comfort blanket or something. When I pull the handbrake on, I want to feel it.
I think it's changing your whole driving style by taking a handbrake away. I prefer a car with a handbrake, I'll be totally honest there.
It's a lovely car to drive, 5-speed manual.
Yeah.
Straight. I think it could do with a 6 gear, I'm not going to lie. Being the petrol model that came with a 5-speed only.
Do you feel like at that top end you think you could have another gear?
I think it could. The 2-litre diesels, if you had a manual, had a 6-speeder, and I think the other diesel models had a 6-speed. I don't know what engine you had.
I do love the layout of these speedos, and I like how they're sort of angled. Maybe when you're actually looking full on yourself, you don't notice it, but from a passenger's point of view,
I see what you mean there.
They are angled, and I like that touch actually.
Yeah.
And I like cars that have this sort of colour as a display. I like red for some reason.
Yeah. I think what they could have done, like they did with the Mark 5 Astra, one thing they've dropped with this car is they've not got the speed at each point.
Oh, they've actually taken that away this time.
You go from 0 to 20 to 40 to 60, and I think that's actually not a good thing.
Right.
I think they should do it at each
Maybe they should have kept
just like the
that,
car.
I do notice they kept the trend of fairly chunky stalks for the indicators and such. Obviously, these ones are rounded, whereas those were square, but they're still a nice thing to use.
Of course, got your cruise control on the steering wheel there, which is a feature that we've moved on from the old Astra.
Yes, yeah.
I think some of them did have a higher rate of specs, but it's very straightforward to use cruise control.
It's a nice steering wheel. It's nice. It seems to follow the same nature of how the dash is swept.
It is. And just like the old Astra, we've got phone buttons but no Bluetooth.
But no Bluetooth. Also, they've kept that trend.
The Bluetooth was an optional extra, which I think probably should have been standard. It wasn't a lot of focuses at the time. You probably know yourself.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Now you see, I really like the look of the Astra VXR. And now I've seen the insides of these and actually sat in one, I know you'll get the same sort of design of dash and things like that. I think it'd be a really nice car to have one of them.
The design of the VXR steering wheel is the same, except for the fact that it's a lot more chunky feel.
Yeah, it's a bit more like a sporty version of it.
Some more, hand grips and things like
that. Looking around, it's a very nice, welcoming cabin to be in. Is this? It's how they've come along, isn't it?
You can see the development over the years.
You can,
compared to the Astra we've just looked at, no doubt about it. And the quality as well is just as good.
Oh yeah, better. It certainly is. They've sort of kept the same ideas, but let's say brought them
bang up to date. And of course, as we said, this is not even the latest model anymore. Now you've got the Mark 7 out, and that's moved the game on yet again.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, in fact, I'm looking even now, it won't be too long before I upgrade to a newer model. We do have cup holders.
I've just noticed. Looking down at the gear, I have noticed we've actually got some cup holders. In fact, they've gone overboard. They've got three cup holders. It's just one of those things. I've got this fascination about cup holders lately. Yeah, the usual thing of the armrest now, but yeah, it's an unbelievably comfortable car to drive. It's really swayed me that I think if I were looking at another car now, I'd look at an Astra, because my main feature, and I also like how a car looks on the outside, but I don't want to be climbing in it and letting it look dreadful, because you spend a lot of time obviously in your car. And
it was important when I looked at this car when I first bought it. I was swayed by the value for money proposition on this car. I just need a reliable car that's comfortable to drive, and the value for money proposition swayed it on this car.
So yes, I'm very pleasantly surprised by this. I've had my eyes open. I really have.
It's certainly moved on from the Mark 5, and I'm sure the Mark 7 will move the game on from this when I get a chance to look at one of them. So
yeah, and I'm sure we'll try and have a look at that at some point. But very good car. Yeah, really taking to it. Yeah.
All in all, the Mark 6 Astra is.
So all in all, I think if I'm going to choose one out of the two, especially for how I'm sat in this one, it'd obviously be this one.
I think I think I'd go with you on that.
Yeah.
Right, so that was a comparison between two Vauxhall Astras, two different marks, some very interesting changes there between the two vehicles. But next we have a Range Rover Vogue, and yes, you can see Range Rover Vogues all over the place on the internet, but this one's a little bit special. This one is a Project Kahn Range Rover. Today you find us back at Enkae Prestige Motors, and we're looking at a rather special Range Rover. Yes, you can see plenty of reviews of Range Rovers all across the internet. You can find the standard Range Rovers, you can get the Range Rover Sports, you can even have the Overfinch Range Rovers all reviewed online. But this one is a little bit special. This one is a Project Kahn Range Rover. And for those of you who don't know, Kahn does custom builds and tweaking of cars. This has effectively been hand built and it's logoed everywhere. The seats are an actual Kahn design. You cannot get this anywhere else. And again, with the stitching, the finishing touches, there's all sorts of things that show that this is something that bit special. It has piano black console. It has Kahn logoing everywhere, from the leather to the kick plates to badges outside. This shows that it is something that bit different and that bit special. We have the usual computer nicely placed in the middle. It's a great bright display, and they are like these at the side that light up once it's activated. So when everything's off, it's just a blank canvas. But once you power everything on, you've got the options down the sides and you can swap between them quite easily. All nicely there, and of course an off button as well if we don't particularly want it there. We also have a lot of the controls down here on the console. So we've got the suspension controls, so we can raise and lower the suspension, which we've got on there. We've got traction control off. We've got cruise control options. We can even look at the different suspension settings as well. Just pop that out and we can just turn it to the suspension setting we want while we're driving. If we actually look a little more at some of the options we've got quite a lot of menu controls on the steering wheel, along with, of course, your flappy paddle controllers and your main indicator stalks as well. We've even got 5 seats, which, let's face it, certain vehicles which we've looked at recently, such as the X6 and a couple of Mercedes as well, don't actually have 3 seats in the back. They have 2 seats and a center console. This, you can have a center console that pulls out the armrest and a bit of storage coverage there as well, but you can have a 3rd seat in the middle, a center seat, if you really need it. But the front bumper is basically tied to this particular car from Kahn. And you've got the branding along the front as well, just on the front edge where it would normally say Range Rover. That's all taken away and it's replaced with the Kahn name. You've got the Kahn name appearing on the leather. We've got it all there. We've got it on the dashboard. We've got it on we've got the signature as well, the Kahn signature logo on the outside, along with lots of other detailing that is unique to a Kahn car. This is literally a bespoke car, complete with pedals, all branded. Everywhere you look, it tells you that it's something different and it's something special. But going back to the regular features, we have split opening tailgate, which can be opened electronically as well. we have a 3-litre V6 engine, which is actually quite subtle, considering the exhaust as well. There's a custom exhaust addition to this as well. So the whole thing is customised and unique to these range of cars from Kahn. Storage space. You've got the little cubby down at the bottom of the door, but you've also got this as well. So you've got a little box that comes with it that you can open up, a little thing that opens up. You've got the memories, you've got the lock buttons, and lots and lots and lots of storage space, such as this one in the middle. Got the slide away bit for the cup holders, and we've also got these. Got one glove box, two glove box. They can open and close. We have badging that's unique to Kahn, and we have a front bumper that is unique to Kahn. You can spot this a mile off compared to a standard Range Rover. Panoramic sunroof for the front and rear passengers, which you can sort of see going across. We've got it partway open at the moment. This is an absolutely stunning vehicle. It handles superbly, and the fact that you've got the option to raise and lower the suspension, you've got the different settings for sport mode and off-road and things like that. Now, one of my favourite things is the fact that you can push the buttons out the way, but also, let's start her up. How's that? And yes, again, it's a standard thing, but we've got the Kahn logo there, and it just seems that bit more special. It's just a shame that one doesn't pop up as well, and that one you've got to manually do. Of course, when you stop the car, the knob for the automatic gearbox hides itself away. Heated seats as well, which are just at the front there. On the centre console, we've got heated seats in the rear as well, which can be accessed from the climate controls at the back. And pretty much vents all round. I mean, this is absolutely stunning. The attention to detail by Kahn's team is just fantastic. I'd probably say this is better put together than an actual original Range Rover that came out of the factory. This has literally been taken apart and rebuilt with such precision and care. The stitching's perfect. There's not a flaw anywhere in the leather, and especially with this design as well. And it shows, the whole attention to detail shows. It's an amazing vehicle. I'd hate to think what somebody spent on this, in addition to the cost of a Range Rover, to get this spec. It's phenomenal. And the thing is as well, with it being a Kahn hand-built car, a Kahn Projects hand-built car, it's unique. You're not going to get another one like this anywhere else. They will all have their own unique little touches. Why wouldn't you go for this if you could afford it? It's taking luxury and taking it that step further, that step beyond. Why wouldn't you?
Right, so that was the Project Kahn, and what a massive vehicle that is.
It's huge.
I could live in that thing, it's that big. Now, these two Astras, bit of a comparison of both. I will admit this one here, the newer Mark, I'm not really up on. This is the one that I used to be with, and I had two SXI 3-door ones, so I want to see some changes, see what I like about them. So we'll have a look at the comparison of both of them now.
And I do believe taking them for a test drive, aren't
And taking for a test drive in this lovely weather.
comparing the two Astras, what can I say? Basically, they're both very decent cars. They both do what they say on the tin, really. They're both practical, both cheap to run. They're both nice to drive. Obviously, you've got a lot more refinement with the newer Mark 6 Astra. And I'm sure Vauxhall will have moved up the game on again with the new Mark 7, and I'll certainly find out when I get a chance to drive one. But yeah, really impressed with both cars. Like I said, they both are mine, so I do get to drive them both on a regular basis, and it does give me a good idea of what they both like to drive, what they both like to live with. Yeah, the refinement of the Mark 6 is leaps ahead of this. Yeah, both very nice cars. Certainly the sort of car that you can live with easy on a day-to-day basis, you know. Just do everything that you want them to do. I think what has surprised me, when we picked this Mark 5 up as a bit of a sort of runabout car, you can say, I was pleasantly surprised. It took me back, and I forgot actually how good they are. Like I say, refinement is not as good as a newer car, but for a car that is basically now pretty much 13 years old, with over 95,000 miles on the clock, it drives remarkably well. It is only 1.4 petrol, so it's not exactly quick, but that's not the point of this car. It's here to do a job which it does very well. I think in terms of technology, the Mark 6 has certainly moved the game on from the Mark 5, as you'd expect really. A lot more features in that respect. Here's a couple of things I've mentioned before that it's missing, Bluetooth and that kind of thing, satellite navigation, if that's sort of thing you're into, sort of thing you need. But no, they both fill the philosophy of what an Astra does very, very well. Well made, cheap to run, practical. Can't really fault either of them for the money that I paid for both of them. You know, extremely good indeed. They're both great value for money, and I think that's one area where the Astra in general, you know, really does excel. Can't fault that at all. Obviously, it's not got the build quality of a German car, but they're not that far off when all's said and done. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the newer Mark 6 Astra is got a sharper handling than the older one. It's no Ford Focus, that's for sure, but it's certainly a lot sharper than the Mark 5. And that's probably the same with the refinement as well. But in terms of sort of ride quality, I actually think the Mark 5, the older model, soaks up bumps a little better than the newer Mark 6, and I think it's probably the only area really where it does better the old car. Isn't it? Where the old car does better the new car, I should say, is when it's the drive quality. Possibly because it's softer sprung, has slightly thicker tyres. I would think that would be the reason why. Mark 5 Astra compared to the Mark 6, you know. Both excellent cars, both do what they say on the tin. So I think that's all really we can say on the subject really. Two excellent cars in their own right. For the money that you pay for each one of these, really can't complain at all.
That was the Vauxhall Astra test drives, and what conclusion did we come to with that?
Well, I think, to be honest, the refinement, you know, the more refinement in the newer car is expected, and is unbelievable really, the difference compared to the older Astra. The refinement is, motorway driving and things like that is unbelievable. The handling as well is actually sharper. One of the things I do find though is that the older one certainly still seems to soak in the bumps better. I don't know whether it's slightly softer setup compared to the newer car. Most likely that's the reason, but it just certainly seems to float over bumps and potholes a lot softer.
I will find, obviously, and this is going to be the case of any cars nowadays, you've got gadgets galore and everything's stepped up another level from when you leave these behind. I think I will agree with Craig that, I mean, I've never actually driven one of these, but I had 2 of these, like I say, and I did like the ride in these. I think they were better on the road. They sat better on the road. And I still would favour one of these for this driving.
I had the SXI version of this with the facelift. Yeah, when we were in Ireland, because I think we were all in Ireland together. And this was the first time I'd actually ever driven a Vauxhall, and regretted having to give it back. Because I had the Astra before that, and it was the most. No, it wasn't actually. It was the Astra before that, and it was the most absolute utter drivel I've ever driven. It was awful.
It's fair to say things have moved on.
Yeah. I mean, when it came to that, I mean, we had the Corsa in Jersey, which, it was okay. It wasn't brilliant.
It was the ideal sort of car for driving around somewhere like the Channel Islands, I think, where the roads are smaller. And of course, it's a decent car. I've had one myself, and I'm very fond of it. But you can't really give it a fair comparison, I don't think, to a car like this.
And like I said, it was the SXI, and it went like stink. And I absolutely loved it. But that's it for another OverDrive.
It is. I can't believe we've got to episode 10 so quickly, let's say, but we have. We've made it.
I hope I've not embarrassed myself too much.
No.
You get used to
will now see a lot more of Craig, and unfortunately me, Mal.
You haven't sacked me yet.
But we always have to make sacrifices, of course. But there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will be along again in episode 11 with much more things.
Yeah, onwards and upwards.
So on that note, I'd like to say a big thank you to Craig stepping in now and joining the team. And
yep, thank you, Craig.
Yeah, no problem. It's a pleasure to be involved.
Do like and subscribe to us.
Yes.
Thanks.
And as we always say, if you've got a car, know of a car, or anything you'd like to touch on, please get in touch with us.
Yep. We'd love to hear from you.
We certainly will.
So, until next time.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.